Good morning, y'all. So I wanted to share something with you this morning from my new book, and it's got just some really interesting quotes. I love books like this. I even have one that an old college professor put together for me back in the day, many years ago, and it was where he had actually compiled a lot of just great speeches from world leaders throughout history, and then he just printed that, distributed that. We just had to purchase a 3-ring binder, and then it was like we had this huge book, put together from that professor. And so isn't it just great when people just really put their heart into their work? And so I love things like that. You can learn a lot. Not only is it inspiring and encouraging, but it gives you a lot of perspective, especially if you look deeper, and get the wheels turning, like I'm always talking about, especially with whatever was going on, during that time period when you're reading a speech or whatever it is. So just really interesting stuff. But I wanted to share with you all a quote from this book. And what I like to do is just flip through these kind of books and just see where it lands, sort of like just picking a card out, and reading from that. And so today what I landed on, if you have this book, it's going to be on page 155. This is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And the quote says, "I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality." I thought that was kind of cool because this morning I picked out this bracelet to wear, Focus on Love, and I have a friend who makes these beautiful repurposed bracelets from belts, right? Old worn belts, and so that it just gives you this wonderful feel, very comfortable. And she just adds the fasteners, and she stamps a wonderful message on the plate, the metal plates. And so anyway, I'm not sure, I haven't been in touch with her in a while. I need to get back in touch with her. I'm not sure if she still makes them or not, but I just cherish these bracelets that I have from her. Y'all know I love bracelets, all right? And so anyway, I put that on this morning. I haven't worn it in a long time, and then I thought that was cool that was a theme here in this book. So when I was younger, I probably would have read that quote and in a much more just glossing over kind of way, where I really wouldn't have taken the time to pull a deeper meaning from it. And so what I want to do today is just be inspired by this, and us just kind of do a little mini deep dive into it, and let it inspire us. Okay, so when we talk about a lot on my channel, getting to a place of peace, getting to a place where we, number one, are wiser because of having gone through certain experiences in life where we were, taken advantage of, manipulated, and things like that, right? We certainly learn from those experiences, and then I think a lot of us are inspired to continue that growth. It's kind of like it just, lights this fire inside of us to it's kind of like you realize, man, I thought that I was awake and aware, you might say, but then when you go through something like that, it just shows you, where you were lacking, and maybe it wasn't so much that you were lacking. Maybe the area that you may have needed to work on is just operating from faith and not fear. In other words, you may have been able to identify red flags that you did notice, in fact, but that you ignored. And so then the work becomes, why did we ignore it? You know what I mean? And so my point is, experiences that we have in life offer us this opportunity to learn from them. And then if what you learn is transformative, it truly does encourage you to continue down that path, of wanting to learn more. And so that's where I am. And I just want to share what I learned with you all, and I hope that it's beneficial for you. And so in looking at this quote, it says, "I believe that unarmed truth," right? What is unarmed truth? So here's how I see that. unarmed truth, this whole entire quote speaks to me to, if you really look at it, a way of operating in this reality from a place of peace, from a place of being grounded and rooted in your own truth, in your own inner guidance. You know, in other words, that connection that you have inside of you with this inner guiding light has become so strong that it's unshakable and unbreakable. Whereas in the past, maybe it wasn't that strong. Maybe it was there, but it wasn't that strong, so it was easily you know, hacked. It was easily manipulated by an outside force, right? So to me, unarmed truth is kind of like it doesn't require, it's truth that doesn't require defense. It doesn't require you to present it in a way, metaphorically, where you're armed. You see what I'm saying? It's not like a something that you feel like needs defending, you know, or any kind of forceful presentation. And so, and you know, just because a person may, in whatever circumstance, you know, if they're upset or whatever, if they're stating their truth, or you know, the way they see things, if they're doing it in that way where it's very brash or loud or angry, it doesn't mean that it's not truth. It may simply mean that that person hasn't come to a certain place of well, one of the terms I've heard used is emotional intelligence. They haven't been able to get a grip on their emotions, you know. It doesn't necessarily mean that what they're presenting is not true. But my whole point here is that, excuse me. I'm getting better, y'all. If we can get to that place of peace, of maintaining our peace inside, ideally, it would happen effortlessly because we have come to a place where we are so firmly aligned with our truth, and we feel so good about it that we don't need any kind of outside validation to support it at all. And so it's like, therefore, you know, peace isn't contingent upon anybody out here. You see what I'm saying? In other words, you can then, when you're really at that place, you don't have to try and work and you know, repeat mantras to yourself to try and maintain this peace, when you just know what you know, and you know it in your bones. You see what I'm saying? That's what I think of when I read unarmed truth. So in other words, truth that is just so deep, you're so deeply rooted in it that you don't need to defend it at all, and you can state it or live it. See, that's just it. Sometimes we think we have to state it, and we don't. Sometimes we can just know what we know, and just live, you know, accordingly. And we don't even have to state it, because in some instances, stating it can serve as a way of defending it when it's not necessary. You see what I'm saying? So it's just, it really comes down to what they call that you know, inner work. It really comes down to getting to a place where you're very sure of what truth is to you. You're very sure of it. And when you truly get there, see, don't beat yourself up. This is what I would say. Because if you're not if you're not feeling peace in certain circumstances, when you're trying to present something to a friend or a family member or whatever it is that would be you would consider a truth, if you still feel anxiety there or whatever, it kind of goes back to that concept of non-attachment. It's like, we may still be attached to needing this person we care about, be it a friend or whoever. We may still have that attachment to needing their approval. It's just it's kind of like, it's such a subtle and elusive process that I have found that happens when you are doing the work. It's like getting, truly real with yourself, meaning, admitting the things that in the past you wanted to ignore, and trying to just better yourself, and just getting to that place where you're so real and true with yourself that you can come to a place where you understand that it's not worth betraying what you've now found, either for the first time or found again, which is that trust in yourself, right? Or the alignment with, if you're a spiritual person, the Holy Spirit inside. It's like you're not willing to sacrifice that ever again, just to be accepted by another person or group. And so, it may mean that there could be a season in your life where you don't have a lot of people that you feel like, you truly understand, that truly understand you, and that you can truly be close to. And that's okay, because in the past your connections may have been contingent upon your willingness to betray yourself, and you just get to a place where you're not willing to do that anymore, and when you get to that place, that's what I'm talking about, when you're growing your roots down into your truth, whatever your truths are founded on, your firsthand experiences, or your spiritual beliefs, or whatever it is. You're just it's a process. It's a subtle process of growing your roots down into those truths. And then when you find that peace that comes with it is like just a result, that is kind of like a chain reaction. Then you're not going to be willing to give that up just to be accepted by someone else, because maybe you've already tried that, and maybe what you got in return, out of the relationship or whatever it was, the friendship, was not worth it. It wasn't worth betraying yourself to pacify this other person. And so you get to a point where also things that are described as petty just truly don't rattle you at all anymore. They just don't. And when I had this old book, I forget the name of it. I think it might be called The Dip. I'll find it and put the name of it in the description. It's a real short, interesting little book. And it's essentially talking about how, quitting isn't always a bad thing. How we associate quitting something, an endeavor or whatever, with, failure. But it's not really. Quitting can be the right thing to do sometimes. And so it's the same thing once you do this work and you grow and you mature, in your psyche, psychologically and spiritually. You get to a point where you quit participating in being hooked into these petty disagreements that just really rattle your emotions and get your adrenaline going and get you all upset. It's kind of like you come to a place where it's a process. Like for me, I told myself for many years that, getting upset over certain things wasn't worth it. And so I knew it intellectually, but my body would still respond like all this stuff was important. There was a conflict within me. I knew intellectually, psychologically, this stuff wasn't important, all this petty stuff, but I couldn't detach emotionally. And so some of it's habitual. Some of it's just conditioning from our experiences. And so I'm not sharing any of this to make you, take a hard look at yourself in a way that's self-condemning at all. I'm just talking about my growth experience and how it truly is, well, it was for me a long process, but just take comfort in the fact, if you feel like what they say in the teaching community, people can still easily get your goat. That's what they used to call it. Like, don't let the students know where you keep your goat. Took me a long time to figure out what they were talking about. but that's what they meant. Like, once people know how to push your buttons, some people, they're going to push them. They're going to do that and manipulate you via your emotions, right? And some people might call that, owning you. It's almost like they own you in that manner if you're that easily shaken, see? So how can you really feel peace when there's that vulnerability in you, so it's something to work on, something to self-evaluate. And if you truly desire to get to a place where you truly are unbothered most of the time, I don't know that any of us can be there all of the time. I think about these monks that live like totally separate from the rest of society, and it's kind of like, I don't know what that kind of life is like, and it's pretty admirable to me that they have that kind of discipline, really. But it's like, if you don't have any kind of challenges from just society, it's probably a little bit easier than if you're trying to attain that same state of inner peace while you're still right in the middle of all this chaos in modern society. You know what I mean? So just don't be hard on yourself. But if that is a goal that you have, to get to that place where it's not even something you have to work at, you're just able to maintain this level of chill like all the time, or most of the time, just don't give up. I would just say stay on that path, and just don't give up. And because each one of us, when we're able to get there, I think that it inspires others. I truly do. And so, and it's just beautiful to actually see that at work. And so, yes, so unarmed truth. See, to me, that's the way truth should always be. Real truth that truly matters. It doesn't have to be defended. And a lot of times it doesn't even have to be stated. It can just be lived and observed. So, and then it says, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. So when it talks about unconditional love, here's how I see this. I don't see it as remaining in an abusive relationship or environment. I don't view unconditional in that manner whatsoever, or even remaining with someone who consistently or intentionally disrespects you and steps out on you and stuff like that. I don't think anybody should, tolerate stuff like that. What I view through the same, foundational lens of maintaining this peace for yourself, the same lens that I used when we talk about unarmed truth, the way I look at unconditional love is that once you get to that place of peace, you're able to operate in love. You're able to focus your energy through that lens of love, just embodying it. And by doing that, I'm going to share this with you. In the past, if I was out and about, somebody got upset in traffic, or whatever, and they threw a finger up at me or yelled or whatever, it would make me upset, right? But now, most of the time, if not all the time now, I feel compassion. It scares me at first because you don't really know, like, what are they going to do, but once you realize you're safe or whatever, a lot of times what I feel now is compassion for that person, that they were set off so easily, and it may have just been that they're having a bad day. We all have bad days, but it could indicate that they really don't have a lot of peace in their life. And so that's kind of how I view that. It's kind of like unconditional, meaning I'm not going to tolerate poor treatment in like closely in my life with people I know, unconditionally, not like that, but like I'm going to operate in such a manner in my life just naturally as a side effect of doing this work, really, in that it's really cool to find yourself just experiencing these random things out there, right, with people that are not in your inner circle, because you're real careful about that now. But when you experience these situations and you're like, I didn't need that person to validate me. There were no conditions there. I didn't, like if, you decided to compliment the cashier and try to, say something to cheer them up, and because they seem down and they just look at you, real hard or whatever, you're not bothered by it. There's no transaction going on there between the two of you, other than buying the goods or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't have that contingency. There's no condition to your kindness. You don't have to be filled, you see what I'm saying, in that way. And so that's how I view it. That's how I view unconditional love. And same thing, like if you're out and about, somebody's angry in traffic, like for me, if somebody wants to get over in front of me and they did so in such a way that it might have previously set me off where I wouldn't want to let them over in front of me, now I'm just like, whatever. And the reason is, excuse me, y'all, if you start acting, once you get to a certain place in your life, and maybe you've mostly acted this way the majority of your life, but you just had certain times that were more challenging. But with unconditional love, just operating in the world, you're essentially acting from your code of ethics. And there's no conditions there. You see what I'm saying? I sometimes I go the long way around to get to my point, but hopefully you got something out of all that. So you're acting from that code of ethics, and there's no conditions that will affect that, that will change the way you act, because you're deeply rooted in that code of ethics. You're deeply rooted in love in that manner, because love is at the foundation of that. You see what I'm saying? And so I just thought that was a cool quote, and I turned to it, I flipped to it this morning. I wanted to share it with you. I hope that it touched you in some way. I hope it inspired you, encouraged you, and I just encourage you to just, if you're having a challenging time or day right now, just keep going, and just check in with yourself and see what areas in your life are out of balance. That has helped me greatly to acknowledge, to get real with myself in that manner, and acknowledge the areas where, I'm trying too hard over here, and then my sleep is lacking or my nutrition is lacking, because all this kind of stuff really does matter. So I just encourage you to take a look at that. And so I will share with you all a longer video this evening. It'll probably be uploaded tonight at some point, and it'll be about different characters within fairy tales, folklore, and myth with regards to the hero's journey that act as facilitators of growth. And sometimes that is shown through a love story, or even what might be called like forbidden love, not like in an unethical kind of way, but like I'm thinking of, like, for example, in the Disney movie Tangled, Rapunzel, she had met what was his name, Eugene, but he went by a different name because he had not been living an ethical life, which is very symbolic as well. But they met one another, and it was just transformative for the both of them. But his group of people, there was issues with him, wanting to be with her, with them, and then of course her mother, who really wasn't her mother, who had stole her from birth, or from when she was a baby, she was like an evil person, and so she didn't want Rapunzel to get with this guy either. So that's what I mean when I say forbidden. But there's a lot of examples of that in different stories, so we're going to talk about that and the symbolism for us and what that means. So I hope that you'll join me. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that you have a wonderful day, a beautiful day. And I'll see you again very soon.